Good morning. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Thursday, the 30th of October. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take somewhat of a day learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right, this is a video for paying subscribers at chartingthemarkets.substack.com. It's published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. Right, okay, there were three main things I was looking at over the next few days, which I was thinking could really move the markets. One of them was the rate cut yesterday, which came through as expected, although with a warning that we might well not get one in December. Why anyone bothers with these, I have no idea. Interest rates really, in terms of loans, mortgages, whatever, all based on the 30-year and 10-year rates. After the Fed cut by 0.5% last year, yields went up and are still up well over 0.5% from there. Yesterday, rates were cut and bonds are down, although I was expecting to see a high here anyway. But I mean, bonds are down, and if they go down much further, they'll have gone up 0.25% rather than down 0.25%. So why anyone thinks these are particularly interesting, I don't know. I read a whole post about a year ago arguing that the problem with the Fed cutting rates when real interest rates based on bond yields were going up was it pierced the illusion that the Fed actually controlled interest rates. But you know what? What you can say is that happened last year and nobody seemed to notice. So I guess, maybe that'll happen this time too. Okay, looking at ES. Yes, we've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. We have not quite made it to the possible near-miss target, but we're getting close. Oh, and the other thing I was looking at this week was the China deal, which has been done. It's had a big impact on soy prices, which are going up. Not much of an impact otherwise. The third thing I was looking at was basically we've got a bullish leaning day today. Next week, we have significantly bullish leaning days on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And if we can get through all that without doing some serious damage to the rising wedges I've got in the RTH charts, then I'll be thinking about a top again. As it is, it's just a whole load of bullish stuff, half of which is pretty much done. But the bullish leaning days the next week, we'll see how it progresses through that. In the short term, we got a 60-minute sell signal fix. Hasn't actually gone down much. We've got a lovely little level top here, which could give us something. If we see a sustained break below 68, 80 area, this could take us back into about 68.10 area and another test of the weekly pivot, or at least getting pretty close to the weekly pivot. All right, looking at NQ. NQ. Potential double top here too, 60-minute sell signal fixed, getting close to the possible near-miss target, i.e. we're not going to get an awful lot more out of these signals. But if we play out the signals and retest the high, then we can start setting up some hourly sell signals, and I'll look at those on the RTH charts. Looking at RTY, we had the sell signal here first, and it made target here first. We've actually made the retest here on RTY, but we didn't quite manage it on IWM, which I'd like to see. YM, we could fix that with retests of the high, of course. In terms of YM, we've made the possible near-miss target, and we've got a potential head and shoulders here, which is starting to break down. This, if it delivers, could get us down into the weekly pivot area. So waiting to see if that delivers. We do have, what I would say is that today actually is a day which leans bullish. That doesn't actually mean that we can't go down, but I'm just saying there is an existing lean in the opposite direction. Looking at DAX and the STX, DAX is still kicking around the daily middle band. On the STX, nice looking potential nested double top here. We'll see how that goes. All right, let's have a look at, hang on, wait a second. Donald Trump's latest disastrous approval rating, which actually, his only real competition for terrible ratings is actually himself in the last term, but he's actually beating himself at the moment. Looking at the government shutdown, I've currently got that at 44 days, so it's scheduled to last until about the middle of November at the moment. That's down from 47 days yesterday. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Hang on, I'll just open these up. And we'll review all the wedges. IWM's not in any danger, but I am wondering about a significant breakup, potentially over the SPX ones. Mainly because, well, actually,
for those three reasons, two of which have just been a down script so far. Okay, here we are on the hourly chart, and if we go down a bit more and then retest the high, we could obviously set up an RSI 14 sell signal on the hourly. That would be a decent sell signal. On SPX, we've not got any significant retracement on a daily close basis. Could potentially see that today, but if we see enough to set up a daily RSI 5 sell signal, we'll likely be going down too far to get the hourly ones. But nonetheless, that would be a decent one. So we could be setting up for those. In terms of the short term, the RSI 14 sell signal fixed here at the top of a breakaway gap here, and we'll see whether or not it can get down into that today. But obviously, there's nothing on the 15 minutes saying bearish. Qs, obviously everything was pulling a little off the highs yesterday, so it didn't touch the 3SD upper band yesterday, although it did go up. No prospect of an RSI 5 sell signal at the moment. On the hourly chart, if we see a retest of the high, we can set up an RSI 14 sell signal. Looking at Dow, bit higher again on the daily, uncomfortably close to the 3SD upper band. We should be seeing some kind of a consolidation, starting soon if we're not going to just bulldoze up through this area. Hourly chart has come down somewhat. We had a weak RSI 14 sell signal fixed and actually a full size RSI 5 sell signal because it came back up and retested and went down again. That's made target. RSI 14 sell signal is still in play. And we did see a bit of a significant retracement yesterday. All the hourly RSI 14 sell signals RSI 14 sell signals on 15-minute made target, except for Qs, which made the possible no miss target. All right, let's have a look at the IWM chart. Okay, IWM on the daily. Didn't quite retest the high, tested the daily middle band yesterday because obviously this has very much been the weakest this week. On the hourly chart, we are getting pretty close to, well, we got a decent looking, not quite as nice as I like because I like it to make the second high, so the second high on a double top to be the higher one. But this is a pretty decent looking double top. I am wondering about that if we see a pull down here. Looking at the IWM chart, this is the one where we had a RSI 14 sell signal reached possible near miss target. I think that has made target, and we've actually got a little RSI 14 buy signal fixed here and an RSI 5 buy signal fixed here from the closing moves yesterday. We will see how that develops. All right, looking at DX. DX is heading higher, I think. We're not seeing the full price here. I think that's there. But that would be pretty much a retest of this high here. That could be a double top, but I'm leaning more towards it going higher. Looking at the currency pairs, not a huge amount to see. USD coming pretty close to the retest of this low. GBP USD just continuing down at the moment. 6-minute buy signal fixed, which hasn't really delivered anything. USD JPY, now this is something I was watching carefully. We've seen a significant breakup here. This no longer looks like a double top, and I think this is USD JPY breaking significantly higher. USD CAD equally, we've still got a head and shoulders, which is broken down with a target in the 1.3865 area. We haven't quite made that target, but I think it might be done. We might be going back up to a retest this high, which would be more consistent with the dollar going up. Australian dollar made the IHS target, and NZ likely bear flag here, which is now broken down towards the lows. This is all consistent with the dollar going up and probably going up higher. All right, ZB. ZB, we've got a double top here, which we're getting pretty close to the target on, but we've actually got a head and shoulders here, which I'm pretty sure is a valid head and shoulders. No, it is a valid head and shoulders, but the reason I'm drawing it in with such conviction here is because of this. This is ZM, and that is very clearly a head and shoulders. So I think we've got one on here on ZB2, and that's broken down with a target in about the 116 area. We'll see whether it can make it, but this is an area I was looking for a high on bonds and a low on yields. So we'll see how this goes. I think this could go potentially quite a long way. Now, this is counterintuitive because in theory, interest rates were cut by the Fed yesterday, but that doesn't actually mean overall interest rates were cut. Overall interest rates are set by bond prices and bond yields. So largely, what the Fed does. I think the problem with doing what the Fed did yesterday is it's making it fairly obvious, although no one seems to notice anyway, but it's making fairly obvious that what they do actually is irrelevant in this situation. They don't control. Interest rates. They can't get them back, which is Trump's dear wish to zero, because they don't have the power to do that. So we will see. All right, looking at CL. Week 6 minute buy signal is fixed. I'm surprised this hasn't been going up more. I've been leaning towards just seeing a retest of the high, and actually on RBOB, we've seen that retest of the high. So we've got a potential level top here. HO, this was, I didn't mark it in, but I marked in the neckline. This was a head and shoulders. It broke down. I was kind of expecting it to fail. It failed. And really, logically, this heads up into a retest of this high here. We do have a possible turn at head and shoulders here, but I've got to say it's ugly. I wouldn't normally be paying it any attention. Leaning towards the upside. NG might be bottoming out here. Week 6 minute buy signal is fixed, and it's getting pretty close to the possible near miss target. Do we have a double bottom here? Not really. So watching to see whether we form an IHS here, but I'm leaning towards this heading back up into the highs. But of course, we could reverse back down and head into the head and shoulder target, which hasn't been reached yet, in about the 3.68 area. Looking at GC. GC is kicking around and looks like a bear flag, setting up at least a retest of this low at the moment. Week 6 minute buy signal reached possible near miss target. SI, nice looking head and shoulders, has broken down, might be failing, but hasn't failed yet. Palladium, nice looking head and shoulders, broke down, might be failing, but hasn't failed yet. Platinum, no obvious topping pattern here. Looks kind of like a bear flag consolidation. And HG made the retest of the high that I was looking for. We've got a beautiful nested double top here, and I'm expecting this to go down. So we will see how that goes. But this is the setup I was looking for. I was looking for HG to go up, retest that high, set up a small double top here, which is pretty close to breaking down, and set up a large double top here, which could get us back into the retest of that low, which has now dropped off the chart here. We will see how that goes, but I'm really liking that. So we will see. Okay, looking at KC. KC, still kicking around, but this is basically a setup where I would expect it to head down to this double top support in the 349 area. Looking at SB, SB may be continuing low. We've got a 6 minute buy signal fix, hasn't delivered anything yet. CC, this looks like a flag which has broken down towards a retest of the low and possibly towards this trend line here, which is going to be significantly lower in about the 52-5300 area. Looking at CT, I'm wondering about this being a bear flag. So nice move, made the IHS target, but I'm wondering about a reversal to retest the low here to set up a potential level bottom. Lumber retested the low after the flag broke down. I'm leaning towards continuation down, not seeing anything to contradict that at the moment. On wheat, we've got a little, obviously on the grains, we've got a lot of turbulence today because of what's happening in China. Soy, the Chinese have agreed to buy a lot of it. And you can see that's this is actually quite significant because on the bigger picture, it's been forming a bear flag all year. This might be soy breaking up out of that bear flag, although it hasn't actually made new highs with any great confidence so far. Looking at wheat, double top broke down, maybe rejecting back into the high. Corn, we've got a double top set up here. It didn't break down. It's already rejected back up into that high. We could be setting up an alternate. Double top. Yeah, although, question from Doug, which is hearing more and more about revaluing the gold price for US gold reserves. And that, I don't know, I mean, does it have any practical effects? I mean, obviously, the gold's got a lot of gold, the Fed's got a lot of gold, or US has got a lot of gold, and that the value has gone up a lot, so that's great. I'm not sure, does it reduce the deficit? Only if they actually spend some to reduce the deficit. To do that, they need to sell gold. I'm not sure it has an impact until then. Might be good for miners. I am far from convinced that gold made any kind of serious high here. I'm thinking prospects for metals are likely up a lot. So we will see. I think increasingly people actually have been exaggerating central bank purchases. Mainly the gains have been through the value of gold, actually, the price of gold actually going up. But nonetheless, I think gold, obviously, you can't print more of it easily. Which distinguishes it from the other fiat currencies. And also doesn't have the problem that crypto has, that everyone's concerned that when quantum computing takes off, that crypto will become worthless. Because, of course, quantum computing will be able to get through the encryption. All right, but another day. Anyway, ZL, broken down from this flag, we could be forming a larger flag, but the obvious target is a retest of this low. Interesting to see how much this isn't going with soy prices. Live cattle at the moment, I think this decline was all about Argentine beef purchases. I am wondering, there is a lot of grumbling from Republicans about that, and a couple of fairly increasingly open rebellions about the Senate taking votes which Trump would not like. We will see about tariffs. So I'm thinking they will drop the beef purchases from Argentina, which may send that back to the highs. On HE, at the moment, we haven't got a double bottom, but we're not making progress towards this trend line here, so the wedge isn't necessarily expanding. We could be forming an alternate wedge. Don't think we've got one so far. That's the other option here. Oh, and I am wrong. We have got a possible alternate trend line here. All right. We could be making a low around there. We will see. We're still at the stage where this could be a bull flag. But that could be an alternate wedge support, which could explain the action we've been seeing over the last day or so. All right, great. In that case, I think it's a wrap. So everyone take care. Yeah, on the gold thing, I think the reserves will make the balance sheet look better. It's not going to make the spending look any better, I don't think. Because the thing is, actually, what Trump's done, what was the almost impossible this year, he's raised taxes a lot. Having raised basically, because tariffs are a tax. And he actually done it in a way where there wasn't, where there wasn't an immediate revolution. But, of course, he's actually more than given it away in tax cuts. So he hasn't improved the federal deficit at all. So anyway, we shall see. All right, great. In that case, that's a wrap. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow morning.